Well, howdy folks, Hellcrix here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 125. And today we're going to be jumping up into the really heavy class, the IMP, the 100-ton pig from the Wolves Dragoons. Yes, the Wolves Dragoons. Now, the 100-tonner was one of those mechs that suddenly showed up in the Inner Sphere from the Wolf Dragoons, where they say, hey, we're building this. And it's like, oh, wow, cool. A totally new design. Well, really, it wasn't really a new design. It was just something they brought with them and started producing. But it's an interesting little mech. Gets the job done, per se. Haven't seen it on the battlefield since this weekend. Had to fight against one of these things. Did some damage to it, but it just kept on ticking. That's the problem. Now, the IMP. Now let's look at the 39 era version, which isn't in the 39 book, but it shows up in the 3050 book. Now, the original IMP, 100 tons, is a 350, no jump jets, has 288 points of armor, has 30, yes, 30 single heat sinks, has a bunch of them, so it can dissipate a lot of heat. It carries around a PPC in the left and right torso, has an LRM-15 in the right arm with only 1 ton of ammo, and it has 2 medium lasers in the center torso, medium laser in the left and right torso, and a medium laser in the left arm for that little bitty arm that it has. Okay, so that's what you look at with the 39 era. It's a really good mech. It doesn't have to worry about heat very much. You know, it's one of those mechs where it has those 5 medium lasers, which is 15 heat, and then you can throw in the a PPC and then your LRM-15. It can do all that and not worry about heating up too much. All right, then you could fire the 2 PPCs and then the launch off the LRM-15, but you can only do that for 8 turns. And in the game that we played on the weekend, the guy that was running it ran out of ammo. So it was basically carrying around a whole bunch of tonnage for a weapon system that, well, no longer could be used. You know, it's like 7 tons just going click, click, click. You know, the launch bays are empty. So in some ways, you might have been better off having 29 heat sinks and then throwing 1 more ton of ammo on it. It has the room for it. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, but they put 30 of them on there. Now, with that being said, typically the odds are, all the games I've ever played against it, I've never seen one ever explode to ammo. Your mileage may vary, but most of the time, all the games I ever played against the IMP, it runs out of ammo. So by the time you get around to possibly hitting the ammo bay, it's already empty. So that's not a big issue. It could happen. I imagine somebody has in all the years of playing the game with an IMP. It's possible. Now, that is the 39 era. Now let's just look at the 3050 era, which is found in the 3050 book. It is 100 tons, comes in around 1900 battle value, has XL engines. Yes, it has XL engines. It's a 350 moving mech. Still has the 288 armor. It's like you threw XL engines on it. Why don't you just upgrade the armor? You know, put another ton on it. And then it carries around an ERPPC in the right and left torso. Has an LRM-15 in the right arm. And the left torso, I don't know why you don't have the ammo on the same side, but carries around 2 tons. They finally fixed the problem with the ammo going dry, so they put 2 tons of ammo on the left torso with case. Alright, so if this thing blows up, you only lose 3 engine hits instead of 9, which, you know, junks the mech. If you're playing campaign, has a large pulse laser in the left arm. So they put a whole bunch of tonnage into the left arm, so they increase the size of that weapon system. Then it has 2 pulse lasers in the center torso and 2 medium lasers in the right torso. Okay. Not bad, but it gets into that whole concept of throwing XL engines on your assault mechs. And, well, the number of times I've seen a mech, especially an assault mech, lose 1 torso and then it's gone because of XL engines, you know, I can't count the number of times. You know, a good example is that we had, it was an Annihilator, had XL engines in it. We hit it, all the damage went right to the right torso. Everybody rolled right torso, took out the torso, dead mech, and it never even had a chance to fire because all the stuff that hit it outranged it. So that is a big problem when it comes to XL engines. So that is one of the biggest weaknesses of the IMP. And everybody I've ever seen play the IMP, actually, you know, like I said, your mileage may vary. But when everybody decides to take an IMP, they always take the 33.9 era IMP, the original version, because they rather have something that can at least turn into a slight zombie mech eventually and running around with possibly just a couple medium lasers or something like that that's found in the center torso. And it still keeps the 30 heat sinks, right? You know, not much has changed. Then you have the pulse laser, which is fairly short range to begin with, and the large pulse laser is. And then you got the small or the medium pulse laser. Those are even shorter range than the regular medium lasers. Okay, I like pulse lasers for what they can bring for hitting your target. A couple of them isn't that bad, but they could have done something a lot better with this mech just by messing around with the heat sinks. Like I always said, one of the best things you can do in the 30-50 era is put on double heat sinks. And a assault mech like this, throwing double heat sinks, you could drop 10 of those or so and put it on, make them doubles, and you're dissipating even more heat, and you free up more tonnage to play around. So you don't necessarily have to have the XL engines. Okay. All right. One thing, like I said, I do like about this mech, it does have at least 2 tons, so it can sit back with the PPCs. All right, it's kind of like you suddenly turned this mech into a fire support mech, because with the XL engines on it, you go from basically running out there and getting in people's face to a mech them kind of like wanting to shepherd a little bit. Now, it does have the weapons that if somebody gets in their face, they can shoot point blank range. That's the nice thing about the ERPPCs. And it has those pulse lasers and medium lasers. Okay, that's good. You still have the drawback of the LR-15, but if somebody gets it up close, you know, I'm probably going to hit them with the large pulses, the mediums, and the medium lasers, and then figure out what kind of heat extra you're looking at. To balance that out, because you know, when you're a 3-5 moving mech, you can't afford to heat up, because if you slow down to a 2-3 moving, you're not going anywhere. You know, you're just like, you might as well just park in place and then heat up and then eventually just shut everything off and cool off for a turn or something. You know, that's pretty much what you got to do. So what kind of things could I do differently with this one? Let's see. Well, there is a variant to the 4 model, debuted in 3060. Upgraded to the double heat sinks. Freezers. Okay. It gives it a 20 rack with Artemis, which is a good deal. I do like the idea of putting Artemis on the launcher if you got the tonnage. And then they probably, what they did was they played around. Let's just see if I can dig this one up here in the 4E. There we go, 4E. Alright, the 4E has an LRM-20, has a standard engine. Alright, it has 21 double heat sinks. Okay, so they dropped 9 of the heat sinks to upgrade everything. Wow, okay. So we got a LRM-20 with Artemis. That's good. Has 2 tons of ammo to go with it. 1, 2, 3. Has 3 ER medium lasers, so it's extended range medium lasers. Does more heat, but you're shooting out a little bit farther. I think it's 12. So damage is pretty much the same, but you're getting a little bit more range with extent to the heat. Then replace the PPCs with 2 ER PPCs, which is good. It still has the 2 medium pulse lasers. So, and then the right and left leg, it puts 2 small lasers, ER smalls in the legs. This thing can dissipate up to 42 heat, and then you can fire the 2 PPCs and the LRM and run, and that's only 38 heat. So it still has 4 heat left that it can throw out there at something like that. Could be like a pulse laser or something. Yeah, something close. Now, if somebody does get in your face, you can unload with all the short range stuff and still don't have to worry about heating up, because you're only doing, there's 10, 18, 23 plus 4, 27. You can throw a PPC in there and sort of heat up a little bit, or even the LRM-20, and not worry about heat. So that's one good thing. And its armor value does go up to 296. I don't know why you didn't go add one more half ton in there, just to get it up to like 304. But mileage may vary. Now let's just look at something. Now, I have in the past modified one of these, a standard, and upgraded it. This is kind of like how I looked at doing mine. It's a 3.5 still mover, no jump jets. I thought about putting jump jets on it. There's a possibility you could do it, but it's expensive stuff. I put on 19 double heat sinks. Still has an LRM-20 on it in the right arm, 2 tons of ammo. Then I have a medium laser in the left arm. The 2 ER PPCs are still there. Has in the right torso 3 medium lasers, medium laser in the left torso, 2 in the center torso, and 1 in the head. And then I also threw on ECM, Guardian ECM. And I used that half ton that's still left over and upgraded the armor to 304. And it's pretty close to the 4E, but what I did was I just took a little bit fewer heat sinks, added on the ECM, and increased the armor. All right, so that's not a overly ambitious version, but the one I have is that you got a whole bunch of medium lasers for shooting somebody in the face if they get close. It's kind of like how I always like to do things in ranges. You got your long range weapons, then you got your medium range weapon systems, then you have your short range systems. Now, the only problem is like when you have this mech, there's case in there too, but you're still gonna have problems with the LRM-20. But if you're trying to keep within the look and an initial design, you got to keep the LRM. But it's one of those things that's kind of like an onion. It's like you got your long range stuff, you got the 2 PPCs, you got the LRM-20. So if you're at range 21, you're going to get hit with 2 PPCs and an LRM-20. All right, so you could potentially dish out up to 40 points of damage. That's pretty good. All right, and then when you go into medium range, you're still sitting there with the 40 potential of damage, but you're now moving into a little bit better odds of hitting. Now, when you get into close range within 9 or 6 range, 9 somewhere near, you start dropping off some of those PPCs and then kicking in all those medium lasers. So let me tell you, when you have that many medium lasers, the odds are one of them's going to hit, maybe 2, or even 3, or even 4, and you're actually going to be doing more damage than just a standard PPC. All right, so you're scraping off more armor. That's kind of like how I look at that version, and this turns it into the IMP into a pretty nasty fighting machine. And you don't have XL engines on it, because as I said many times, XL engines is not something I enjoy taking out onto the battlefield. So there you go. Now if you have any stories or anything like that nature when it comes to this mech, let me know. Put it down below. If you ever taken one of these things out with an ammo explosion, I've never seen one taken out with an ammo explosion, but you know, you may have been lucky enough to get one of those, or you've been on the receiving end of having your ammo taken out. So there you go. Like and share, tell all your friends, and we will see you in the next one. Hellcracks out.